Cheryl Wills, thank you so much for being here and having this interview with me. New Yorkers know you as the warm, dependable TV journalist, but you recently did a publication called Die Free, and there's something that you want everyone to know about you, something new. What is it?
Well, Nova, thank you for having me, first of all. And this book that I wrote called Die Free, A Heroic Family Tale, is a book that changed my life. I logged on to Ancestry.com and discovered a great-great-great-grandfather that I had never heard of. His name was Sandy Wills, and he was born a slave, and he was purchased by Edmund Wills, which is why my name, all these years later, is Cheryl Wills. That was the first shock. And the second shock was when I learned that he rounded up 5 of his enslaved brothers in 1863 and escaped to go fight in the Civil War. And they fought valiantly until the war was over in 1865. And it's a heroic, amazing story that changed my life, because I've been sitting on this anchor set delivering the news for almost 20 years, and I had no idea of my family legacy. And it's very humbling when you learn something like that.
Where did you come up with the title Die Free? What does it mean exactly to die free?
That's a great question. It means, well, Frederick Douglass was a great abolitionist during the time my great-great-great-grandfather was alive. And Frederick Douglass was greatly concerned about the position of Africans in America who were in eternal bondage. And he had been fighting and appealing to governments, a former slave himself. And he appealed directly to Abraham Lincoln and said, let these Africans fight for their freedom. Let them be a part of the Civil War, because if they win, then they're free. And so when Abraham Lincoln finally agreed, he put out an APB, if you will, and said, gentlemen, the gate to our freedom is half open. It's better to die free than to live slaves. And that touched me when I read those words. I read those words when I was a little girl doing research, and it just so happens I read it again when I was thinking of a title for my book, and I said, this is perfect, Die Free, because that's it really epitomizes what my great-great-great-grandfather went through. He risked his life. He risked everything. He didn't even own himself, you understand? But he did embrace who he was in his soul. And he made a decision. It is better to die free than to live a slave. So that's why I named my book Die Free.
Now, your last name, originally from the slaveholder of your great-great-grandfather, you seem to embrace it so much, but how do you feel knowing that that last name came from the person that technically your great-great-grandfather was the property of?
The property of. It's shocking, really, when to know what your last name is all your life. And African Americans kind of know that their names are that of slaveholders, because there were no Jones in Africa, there were no Jacksons in Africa. Obviously, people bought us and sold us, and we took on their surnames. But when I found out specifically that Edmund Wills, and I did the research of his family, and I learned that his family lived lovely off the backs of my great-great-great-grandfather doing free labor for his family. It was humbling, but I'll tell you what, Nova, I hold on to the last name because I did something with it he never expected Sandy's descendants to do. He thought Sandy's descendants would be slaves forever. And I took the name and made it great. That's why I was so proud to step on the stage of the United Nations, that international audience where presidents and kings and queens have stood, and say, I'm Cheryl Wills, and I'm the great-great-great-granddaughter of a slave. That meant a lot to me, to take that name that was forced on my great-great-great-grandfather and make it a name that Edmund Wills could have never imagined. So I'll hold the name. Some of my friends who realize what their last name is and who it was through slavery, they change it. But I said, you know what? No, I'll keep it. I'll keep it.